My wife emptied our entire savings while I was unconscious in a hospital bed. Her message? I deserve this after everything I've done for you. I sent her a thumbs up. Then, I disappeared. The beeping was the first thing I heard when I came back. Sharp, steady, indifferent. My eyes opened to fluorescent lights and the blurry silhouette of a nurse adjusting something at my bedside. "You're lucky," she said without turning around. "Flatlined twice. We almost lost you." I didn't feel lucky. I felt hollow, as if something had been vacuumed out of me while I was under. My throat was dry. My chest ached like someone had kicked it in. I turned my head slowly and asked for my phone. She hesitated, then handed it to me from the drawer. One message. From Rachel. No calls, no missed voicemails, just one message and a screenshot. The image showed the balance of our joint checking account, $0, 0 cents. Below it, she had written, "I deserve this after everything I've done for you." I stared at the screen, not for a few seconds, for minutes, letting the silence wrap around the sentence like gauze. I didn't feel anger. Not yet. Just a numbness that settled deep, deeper than I expected. I pressed the emoji icon, tapped the thumbs up, and hit send. That was it. No paragraph, no question, no screaming, just a quiet signal that the message had been received. When the doctor came in later, he told me I couldn't drive for 6 weeks. That stress could trigger another episode, that I needed rest. "Is someone picking you up tomorrow?" he asked. "Yeah," I lied. That night, I didn't sleep. Not really. I stared at the speckled ceiling of that sterile room and listened to the machines breathing for me. Somewhere outside the window, a thunderstorm rolled in. I didn't hear the thunder, just saw the flicker of distant lightning. My body was weak, but my mind was starting to move again, slowly, precisely, the same way I'd maneuver an 18-wheeler through snow on a 2-lane in Montana. I picked up the phone and called my brother Logan. We hadn't talked in months, not because of a fight, just life, different paths, different routines. "Nathan," he said, voice groggy but alert. "I need a favor," I said. "Name it." "I need a place to crash, just for a few days. And I need you not to tell Rachel." He paused. "She doesn't know you're alive." "She knows," I said. "She just doesn't know I'm not coming home." He didn't ask more, just gave me the address and said he'd be waiting. The next morning, I signed my discharge papers. No one came with flowers. No one brought me a coat. I walked out in hospital socks and the same jeans I'd passed out in somewhere outside Omaha. A driver picked me up at the side entrance. I didn't go home. I went to Logan's. Logan lived on the edge of town, in a small brick house with creaky floors and a garage that smelled like sawdust and motor oil. He opened the door before I rang the bell, still in work boots, wiping his hands on a rag. "You look like hell," he said. I gave him a tired smile. "Feel worse." He didn't ask questions, just stepped aside and said, "Guest room's made. Shower's hot. You hungry?" I wasn't, but I nodded anyway. 15 minutes later, I was sitting at his kitchen table, staring at a sandwich that didn't taste like anything. Logan sat across from me, arms folded, not pushing conversation. That's the thing about brothers. We can sit in silence without it being awkward. I looked around his place, lived in, practical, photos of his kids on the fridge, tools on the counter, a life built from bruises and do-overs. He'd been through 2 divorces. Knew better than to ask why I wasn't going home. "Does she know you're here?" he asked eventually. "No," I said, "and I'd like to keep it that way, for now." "She took everything?" I nodded. "Truck maintenance fund, emergency savings, retirement cushion." "Jesus," he muttered. "What are you going to do?" "Doctor says I'm supposed to rest." I took another bite, forced it down. "So, I'm going to rest." But that night, I didn't sleep. I lay on my back staring at the ceiling fan, thinking about all the little moments I used to ignore, the way Rachel would check her phone under the table, how she stopped asking when I'd be home, the passwords that changed without explanation, the sudden interest in moving money between accounts for better interest rates. It wasn't one big betrayal. It was 1,000 small ones. And I'd missed them all. Or maybe I'd chosen not to look. I met Rachel outside a gas station in Cheyenne. She had a flat tire. I stopped to help. She looked at me like I'd just saved her life. 6 months later, we were married. Quick, but not reckless. I was 30, she was 27. Old enough to know better, young enough to still believe in magic. She never liked that I was on the road 3 weeks out of 4, but she liked what it bought. The house, the car, the vacations. Every night I called from another state, Sometimes we talked for an hour, then 30 minutes, then 10. In the last couple years, it was mostly texts. Made it to Nashville, all good here, one-sided effort, dressed up as routine, and I let it happen, because I thought that's what commitment meant. You keep showing up even when the other person stops noticing. But somewhere between mile markers and motel breakfasts, I became less of a husband and more of a direct deposit. And now, lying in my brother's guest room, I could finally admit it. I hadn't been missed, just replaced. On the third day at Logan's, I got a text from our old neighbor Dennis, from 2 houses down, the kind of guy who mowed his lawn every Saturday like religion and always waved when I backed the truck in for a weekend break. His message was short. Haven't seen you around, everything okay? Rachel's got some guy over, thought you should know. I sat with that for a long time, phone resting on my chest, the words just floating there like oil on water. I didn't reply, didn't need to, he'd already said enough. Logan was at work, the house quiet except for the hum of the fridge and the occasional bark of the neighbor's dog. I sat at the kitchen table, opened my laptop, and began logging into the accounts Rachel didn't know existed. Not because I'd hidden them, but because she'd never asked. Investment accounts tied to my contracting side gigs. A small business account under my name, certificates of deposit I'd started years ago when fuel prices spiked and I needed a backup. She'd never been interested in those things, said they were boring, said she trusted me with the money stuff. I guess that trust only went one way. The balances were intact, untouched. I felt a flicker of something, not relief, exactly, just confirmation that not everything had been taken, that I wasn't completely erased. I made 3 calls that afternoon. First to my dispatcher, told him I needed extended medical leave, no questions asked. Second to the credit union where my side accounts lived, just to update contact info, set up 2-factor, close every loophole I could think of. Third was to Jordan Ellis, a lawyer friend of Logan's. We'd met once at a barbecue, didn't know each other well, but Logan said he was good. I explained my situation. The house, the medical state, the wiped out account. I need to know where I stand, I said. With the money, with the house, with all of it. Jordan agreed to meet the next day. Professional, calm, no pity in his voice, just questions. That night, Logan came home to find me printing bank statements. You sure you want to go down this road? He asked. It's not about revenge, I said. It's about not letting them walk away with my name on their mess. He nodded, said nothing more. That's the thing about brothers. You don't need to explain hurt when they've lived their own version of it. I slept better that night, not because I wasn't angry, but because I had a plan. And plans keep the mind steady when the heart wants to burn. The next day, Logan drove me downtown. I wasn't cleared to drive yet, but I didn't want to reschedule. The bank branch we went to wasn't our usual one. I didn't want anyone recognizing me or giving Rachel a heads up. We asked to speak with someone from fraud services. A woman named Michelle met us in a private room. Gray cardigan, polite smile, the kind of face that sees stories like mine more often than she should. I showed her the screenshot Rachel had sent, the one with the 0 balance and the message underneath. This is a joint account, she said carefully, reviewing the records. Technically, either party has full access unless a legal restriction is filed. I understand, I said, but I was hospitalized, unconscious. The transfers happened while I wasn't even aware of my own name. Her expression shifted slightly, professional still, but there was something in her eyes. Pity, maybe, or quiet anger on my behalf. We can start an internal investigation, she said, but it'll hinge on medical records, proof that you were incapacitated at the time the funds were moved. Not a problem, I said. I've got everything from the hospital, dates, times, statements. She nodded and began typing. If this escalates, law enforcement may get involved. I'm aware. I signed the paperwork. She scanned my ID. The whole process took less than 20 minutes. On the way back, Logan stopped for gas. I stayed in the truck, staring out the window while a father walked out of the convenience store with 2 kids and a pair of Slurpees. Just another Tuesday for someone else. I'd once dreamed of that kind of day. Now it felt like a scene from a movie I'd never be cast in. You want anything? Logan asked through the window. I shook my head. Back at his place, I made myself a cup of coffee I didn't really want, sat at the kitchen table and opened my laptop. Checked the burner email I'd set up for legal correspondence. No updates, just silence. I picked up my phone and refreshed my messages. Still, nothing from Rachel. Not even a follow-up to the thumbs up I'd sent in response to her first message. She knew I was alive, knew I'd seen it, knew I hadn't come home, and yet, nothing. Not a call, not a check-in, not even a lie. It hit harder than I expected, not because I missed her, but because of what it confirmed. I was no longer a person she needed to explain herself to. I was a ghost. That night, I stood in Logan's backyard under the porch light, watching moths fling themselves towards something that would burn them. I wondered how long I'd been doing the same. The message came mid-afternoon, just as I was reviewing hospital records to send to Jordan. I hadn't thought much about her silence these past few days. I figured it wasn't silence out of guilt, it was confidence. Confidence that I would eventually crawl back like I always had after long hauls, after missed anniversaries, after the fights that ended with me apologizing for being tired. But today, something shifted. My phone lit up with her name. I let it sit, stared at the screen. The preview read, "Where are you? Your truck isn't at the depot. Did they tell you I came by?" I didn't open it, just placed the phone face down on the table and went back to scanning paperwork. 10 minutes later, another buzz. "Cameron, this is ridiculous. You can't just disappear. We need to talk about this." She was slipping back into old patterns, accusing, controlling, redirecting the blame. She still thought this was about the money. That I'd come back because she needed me to come back. I didn't respond. That night, I sat on the porch while Logan grilled steaks and Emily, his daughter, typed on her laptop with law books open around her. She was helping Jordan cross-check a few statutes. A smart kid, quiet, but sharp. "Does she know where you are?" Emily asked, not looking up. "She suspects. You going to respond?" "Not yet." "Good." She went back to typing. Around 9, another message came in, this one longer. "I'm sorry about the money. I was angry. You've been distant for months. I thought you were cheating. When I found out about the house refinancing, I panicked. We can work this out. Please talk to me." It was the first time she'd ever accused me of cheating. Projection, probably, or desperation. The kind of lie you throw when the walls start closing in and you realize the escape hatch isn't where you left it. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Every minute she spent typing those messages was another minute she wasn't sure, and uncertainty for someone like Rachel is unbearable. I turned off the phone, went back inside. Logan was already asleep. The house was dark. I laid in bed and stared at the ceiling again, same way I had at the hospital, only this time, I didn't feel lost. I felt done. And when you're done, silence is the loudest answer you can give. The call came the next morning just as I finished emailing the final batch of medical records to Jordan. "You're going to want to sit down for this," he said. "She's lawyered up." "Figured she would," I replied. "Who'd she pick?" There was a pause. "Vanessa Reed." I didn't say anything for a second. That name had weight. Even I'd heard of her. Reed was known for scorched earth divorces. She didn't negotiate. She leveled. "That's a declaration of war," I said. "Yes, and she's already filed." "What's the angle? Desertion?" "She's claiming your failure to return home after hospitalization constitutes abandonment. She's painting you as unstable. Says you've gone dark, unreachable, refusing communication." I let out a slow breath, not from stress, just confirmation. "She's rewriting it already. That's why I'm calling," Jordan said. "We need to get ahead of this. I've filed a motion for an emergency hearing on the funds she withdrew. We're arguing that removing all joint assets while you were incapacitated constitutes financial exploitation of a medically vulnerable adult." I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. "Who's the judge?" "Marshall Klein." Another name that carried weight. Old school, no tolerance for drama, known for siding with the facts, not the theatrics. "Good," I said. "Then let's give him facts." Already compiling discovery, but from this point on, no direct contact with Rachel. Anything she says goes through Vanessa. Same goes for you. If she reaches out, don't respond. "She already has," I said. "Texted me last night." "Don't reply. Forward it to me." "Done." I hung up, then forwarded the message. "I'm sorry about the money," and the rest of her careful rewrite. Logan walked in from the garage, wiping sweat off his brow. "All good?" he asked. "She hired Reed." He whistled. "So gloves are off now." They were never on. That afternoon, I drove past the house again. Didn't go in. Just circled the block. Rachel's car was in the driveway, parked next to a black Audi I didn't recognize. I didn't stop, just drove by once and went back to Logan's. 20 minutes later, my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "This is Vanessa Reed, legal representative for Rachel Grant. Any further surveillance of my client's residence will be documented as harassment. All communication must go through official legal channels. I looked at the message, then showed it to Logan. They're watching me now, I said. Good, he replied. Let them. That night, I sat at the kitchen table, staring at a manila folder Jordan had given me. Inside was every form I'd filled out, every document I'd submitted, every photo I'd taken. The difference between losing and keeping what's yours? Paperwork. And I had a truckload of it. 1 week after the hearing, Jordan called me into his office. When I arrived, Emily was already there, sitting at the edge of the conference table with her laptop open and a folder waiting in front of her. "We've got something," Jordan said, sliding the folder toward me. Inside was a bank statement from an institution I didn't recognize. Not our regular bank, not the credit union. This one was out of Minneapolis. Rachel's name was on it. The balance read $127,340.56. Where did this come from? I asked, already knowing the answer. Emily found it, Jordan said. Her internship gave her access to archived reporting data. Nothing illegal, just connecting what's public and what's overlooked. Emily pointed to the deposit history. This account was opened 18 months ago. Regular deposits every 2 to 3 weeks, always just under $10.00. Always when you were on the road. I stared at the page. The numbers didn't hurt. It was the timing that did. I had been fighting sleep behind the wheel in Ohio, eating gas station burritos in Utah, calling home from motels with buzzing lights, and Rachel had been stashing cash. Not a little, a life raft. She wasn't preparing to leave, I murmured. She was preparing for me to leave. That's our working theory, Jordan said. Or maybe she didn't know what she wanted, just that she needed a parachute either way. That's not the part that stings, I said. It's the fact that she built it off my silence. Emily handed me another paper, a credit card statement, same bank, hotel charges from 3 months ago, a room booked in Minneapolis. You were in Seattle that week, Jordan said. I nodded slowly. Whose name is on the reservation? Dennis Cole. I didn't speak for a long time. Just sat there, the taste of metal in my mouth. Dennis. Our neighbor. The same man who texted me when I disappeared. Just checking in, buddy. Saw someone at your house. I thought he was watching out for me. Turns out, he was watching his own tracks. We think he's been involved with Rachel for a while, Jordan said. The money trail lines up. They've been hiding it, well, not expertly, but enough to dodge basic scrutiny. I closed the folder. It wasn't just betrayal. It was staged. What do you want to do? Jordan asked. I looked up. Document everything. If they've started this like a game, I want to end it like a case file. Emily nodded. Already on it. The next few weeks were quiet, but not idle. I moved like a man folding a net, not rushing to catch, just making sure nothing slips through. Jordan built the case, Emily traced the money, and I watched. Not them, their patterns, their habits. The kind of signs most people miss unless they've been trained to look for weak bolts on a trailer door at 70 miles per hour. One evening, Emily sat down across from me with a spreadsheet. The account's been shifting, smaller withdrawals, moving into other banks. Some converted into cashier's checks. They know we're close. How close? Close enough that they're liquidating, I nodded. And Dennis? Name's popping up in more places now. One card he's co-signer on. Another, he's listed as an authorized user. It's not just emotional anymore, it's financial. Jordan added, if they run, we lose leverage, and you lose the option of real justice. I leaned back. So what do we do? We don't move yet, he said. We document every transfer, every connection. We make it too risky for them to bolt. And when the time's right, we pulled the floor. That night I drove past the house again, just once. Didn't stop, didn't even slow down. But I did notice something new. A for sale sign in Dennis Cole's yard. When I got back to Logan's, I called Emily, and told her. An hour later, she confirmed it. He cleared out $90,000 last week, she said. Cashier's checks. Bank won't say where they're headed, but the timing tracks. They're getting ready to run. I looked out the window at Logan's quiet backyard. Then we need to move faster. You sure? Jordan asked over the speakerphone. Because once we act, this isn't a negotiation anymore. It's a takedown. I didn't hesitate. Then let's build a case they can't climb out of. 2 days after Emily confirmed Dennis was moving money, I drove past the house again. This time, I didn't just observe, I documented. I parked 2 blocks over, walked the sidewalk like any neighbor out for a stroll, phone angled discreetly. Rachel's car was in the driveway. Dennis's Audi, too. They were arguing in the front yard. Low voices, sharp gestures, both of them too distracted to notice me across the street. I hit record. 30 seconds. No sound, just body language. Familiarity that no just friends ever shared. Tension that no cosigner could explain. When I sent the footage to Jordan, his reply was immediate. Perfect. Judge Klein's in session tomorrow morning. We're filing at 9. That night, I didn't sleep. Not because I was anxious, but because I was ready. There's a different kind of insomnia when your mind isn't spinning out. It's sharpening, cutting away everything that doesn't matter anymore. The next afternoon, we walked into the courthouse not as victims, but as strategists. Jordan wore a charcoal suit. I wore the same tie from the emergency hearing. It still held the quiet weight of someone who'd almost died with nothing left. Judge Klein didn't smile. He never did. But when Jordan submitted the video, the judge leaned forward, glasses perched at the end of his nose, watching the screen like a man reading between lines written in fire. "Ms. Reed," he said, turning to Vanessa without raising his voice, "your client has previously stated under oath that she has no ongoing relationship with Mr. Cole. How do you explain this footage?" Vanessa stiffened. "Your Honor, the nature of their personal relationship is not material to the division of—" "It is," Judge Klein interrupted. "When one party is accused of financial exploitation and attempting to conceal assets, it is absolutely material." He turned to Rachel. "Are you planning to leave the state with Mr. Cole?" She opened her mouth, closed it. I don't. Let me rephrase. He flipped through the bank records. You withdrew significant funds while your husband was incapacitated. Those funds were then funneled, in part, to an account shared with Mr. Cole. Mr. Cole is now selling his property and liquidating assets. All while you claim no financial or romantic connection. This court sees a pattern. He looked at both attorneys. I am issuing an emergency freeze on all assets belonging to Rachel Grant and Dennis Cole. No properties may be sold. No funds transferred. Neither party is permitted to leave the county without court approval. Vanessa started to speak again, but the judge raised a hand. Ms. Reed, I strongly advise your client cooperate fully, because if I find further evidence of asset concealment or intent to flee, I will refer this matter for criminal investigation. Understood? Yes, Your Honor. As we left the courtroom, Rachel caught my eye. For the first time since this began, I saw a fear. Not of me, of consequence. And that was enough. 3 months after the hospital, I moved back into the house, not as a husband returning, as a man reclaiming what was always his. The court had ruled swiftly after the injunction. Judge Klein reviewed the refinancing documents, the medical reports, the power of attorney I'd established the year before. Everything was in order. Everything pointed in one direction. Given Mr. Grant's medical condition at the time of the financial activity, the judge said calmly, and the fact that the property is solely in his name, this court grants him temporary exclusive use of the marital home pending final division of assets. Vanessa Reed tried to object, brought up Rachel's emotional distress, her belief that the marriage had already ended. But Klein didn't flinch. That belief, he said, is not a defense against financial exploitation, nor is it justification for hiding funds or attempting to flee jurisdiction. Rachel didn't look at me when the ruling was read. Dennis wasn't in court that day. No one knew exactly where he was. According to Emily's last report, he'd withdrawn the last of his funds and closed the sale on his house in cash. Vanished like a ghost built on bad credit. And Rachel? She was left to face everything alone. I moved in on a Tuesday, midday, quiet. Logan helped me load a few boxes, clothes, papers, the small lockbox where I kept my passport and birth certificate. The house smelled different, like cologne that wasn't mine and a brand of wine I never bought. There were 2 glasses in the dishwasher, still streaked. I didn't touch anything, just walked to the closet, grabbed what was mine, and let the rest sit like artifacts from a life I no longer belonged to. On the hallway table, the wedding photo was gone. Good. I didn't need it. I had the court order. I had my name back, and most of all, I had peace. Outside the lawn was overgrown, the mailbox full. A neighbor waved as I stepped out. I didn't wave back. Not yet. Not until I knew I was truly home. That night, I sat in the living room, lights off, only the hum of the fridge filling the silence. For the first time since Rachel's message, I let my eyes close without expectation and slept. 2 weeks after I moved back in, Rachel sent another message. This time it wasn't blame, it was bargaining. We need to talk, just you and me, no lawyers. I didn't reply. I forwarded it to Jordan. His answer came an hour later. Don't engage. She's panicking. Let her lawyer speak for her. But I already knew. The silence she once used as distance was now turning into a wall she couldn't climb. The next day, Vanessa Reed reached out with a proposed settlement. 50% of the withdrawn funds in exchange for 50% equity in the house. Jordan just laughed. They're trying to test us, he said. See if we'll settle cheap. What do we say? I asked. We let them sweat. Meanwhile, Emily kept watching the money. They're still moving small amounts, she said one evening. But the network's thinning, they're running out of places to hide. Logan grilled dinner that night. Chicken, nothing fancy, we ate outside on the back porch. The same porch where Rachel used to sip wine and scroll her phone while I unpacked from long hauls. Now, the only glass on the table was mine. You could end this right now, Logan said. Settle, take the house, walk away. I nodded. I could, but you won't. No, I said quietly. Not until every piece of it is where it belongs. The following morning, I received a call from Jordan. She wants mediation, he said, not to fight, to beg. Then we give her the option, I replied. She walks with her car, her personal belongings, and whatever dignity she still has left, but no house, no alimony, and she pays the legal fees. And the secret account? Split 50-50, I said, only because I want this closed, not because she earned it. Jordan paused. You sure? I'm not angry anymore, I said. I'm just done. That afternoon, Vanessa called to say they'd consider the terms. I didn't care. Whether she agreed today, tomorrow, or next month, the result would be the same. I wasn't the one leaving anymore. I was the one locking the door behind me. We met in a neutral office downtown. No courtroom this time, just beige walls, a long table, and 2 lawyers on either side. Jordan sat beside me, flipping through the finalized packet. Across from us, Rachel and Vanessa. She wore a dark green blazer, same perfume, same practiced smile, but her eyes were different now. They didn't hold fire, they held calculation. And underneath that, fatigue. My client is prepared to be reasonable, Vanessa began. Despite the aggressive tactics employed thus far, Jordan smiled politely. Then we'll keep this brief. He slid the paperwork across the table. Mr. Grant retains full ownership of the house. All assets recovered from the fraudulent withdrawals remain frozen until division is finalized. Secret account to be split evenly, contingent on our client's legal fees being paid from her share. Rachel didn't speak, just stared at the documents. She keeps her car, her studio belongings, and any items of personal value still in her possession, Jordan added. There will be no claim to alimony. Vanessa hesitated. And if she agrees? Then Mr. Grant will provide a written statement to the court that may mitigate criminal exposure regarding the account activity. Rachel finally looked up. You'd do that? She asked. I met her gaze. I don't want to ruin you, Rachel. I just want you out of my life clean. Her expression cracked. Just for a second. Then it was gone. She signed. One stroke at a time. No protest. No last plea. Just the slow realization that everything she'd gambled for had come back with interest. As we stood to leave, she reached out, brushing my arm. I never thought you'd fight back like this, she whispered. I didn't flinch. That was your first mistake, I said, thinking I wouldn't. I walked out without turning back. Some doors don't need slamming, just locking. Once and for all. 6 months after the settlement, I sold the house. Not because I had to, because I wanted to. Too many rooms, filled with air I no longer wanted to breathe. Too many corners that remembered things I was trying to forget. I bought a smaller place on the west side, closer to Logan and Emily. 2 bedrooms, 1 story, a garage just wide enough for a workbench and peace. No wine racks, no his and hers sinks. Just mine. Emily came by on move-in day with a folder and a smile. Acceptance letter, she said, holding it out. Full ride, top law school in Chicago. I hugged her. Not because I had to, because I meant it. You earned that, I said. So did you, she replied. You taught me how to fight without noise. I used part of the settlement money to help her with the move. Tuition already covered. But there's more to starting over than books. Logan helped me install shelves in the new kitchen. Same rhythm as before. Measure, mark, drill, level. You good? He asked one afternoon. I didn't answer right away. Just looked around. No photos on the walls yet. No furniture with memory. Just space. I think so, I said. Better than I was. That's all that matters. I didn't drive long haul anymore. The doctor said my heart couldn't take the stress. So I found work dispatching. Local, predictable, home every night. At first, it felt small. Then it felt right. Sometimes people asked if I was angry about what happened. I'd just shake my head. You don't rebuild a life by holding on to the one that crumbled. You rebuild by sweeping the floor, picking up the hammer, and starting again. With steadier hands. I didn't need everything back, just enough to stand, and now I had that. It was a Sunday afternoon when I found it. I'd been clearing out the last of the moving boxes, stuff I hadn't touched in months, labeled in fading Sharpie, Monsieur Office/Old Docs. I wasn't looking for anything, just trying to make room for a new bookshelf I didn't really need. Beneath a stack of old tax folders and a cracked picture frame was a leather-bound album. Cream cover, gold trim. I knew what it was before I opened it. Our wedding. Rachel in a sleeveless dress, smiling like she believed it. Me in a black suit, still sunburnt from a delivery in Phoenix, trying to look comfortable in polished shoes. The photos were too perfect, all symmetry and softness. But I remembered the awkward jokes between shots, the way her hand kept fixing my collar. The quiet after the guests left, when we sat on the motel bed eating leftover cake with our fingers. I turned each page slowly, not to linger, just to finish. And when I reached the last one, a picture of us dancing under string lights, faces half lit by joy and wine, I didn't feel anything sharp, just a dull echo, like seeing a road sign for a town you used to live in but don't need to visit again. I thought about throwing it out, thought about burning it maybe, but I didn't. I closed the album and slid it back into the box, taped it shut, labeled it simply archive. Because that's what it was now. Not a shrine, not a wound, just a chapter, a record. Part of a story that no longer needed a sequel. That night I sat on my porch with a cup of black coffee and no phone in my hand. The air was cool. A neighbor's dog barked once. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like something was missing, only that something heavy had finally been put down. A few nights later, I found myself cleaning out the drawer by the kitchen sink, the one every house has, full of takeout menus, dead batteries, a screwdriver that doesn't fit anything. At the bottom was a receipt from a gas station in Wyoming, dated 2 years ago. I remembered the trip, 48 hours on the road. Called Rachel that night from a truck stop just outside Laramie. She hadn't answered. Texted back the next morning. Busy, studio day, be safe. At the time, I didn't think anything of it. I never did, that was the problem. I'd made it easy to be ignored, easy to be taken for granted. I didn't demand presence, I just delivered comfort. And comfort given long enough without question stops feeling like a gift. It becomes wallpaper, expected, invisible. People say betrayal happens suddenly. I don't think that's true. I think it happens in small steps, over time, until one day someone decides they're already gone, and you're just the last to find out. I used to replay the hospital moment over and over. That message, that thumbs up I sent back, wondering if I should have said more, should have fought louder. But now I think silence was the clearest thing I ever said to her. Not because I wanted to punish her, but because it was the first time I didn't try to fix something that wasn't mine to repair. Rachel didn't break me, she revealed me. Showed me the places I'd gone soft, gone quiet, gone absent from my own life. And when someone shows you who you are, even through pain, you owe them gratitude. Not closeness, not another chance, just closure. I'm not bitter, I'm not waiting for karma, I'm not even hoping she learns from it. That's her business now. Mine is this life I've rebuilt. The quiet dispatch job, the evening walks, the niece who sends case updates from Chicago, the porch light I leave on not for someone coming home, but just because I like the way it looks in the dark. Some losses are just that, loss. But some are lessons, and this one, I survived it, which means I'm not just living, I'm learning. The idea came quietly, like most good things do. I was standing in the garage reorganizing the toolbox Dennis once helped me hang when I found a folded map tucked between a stack of old manuals. Not digital, not GPS, just paper, creased, marked, smelling faintly of engine oil. It was the route I used to take on my first long hauls, down through Colorado, across Utah, brushing the edges of the desert before looping north again. I hadn't looked at it in years, but something about it pulled me. Not nostalgia, not escape, just space. I walked back into the house, poured a glass of water, and stared at the calendar I hadn't written anything on in weeks. I picked up the phone, called the dispatch office. "I'm taking 2 weeks," I said. "No emergency, just time." They didn't argue, just said, "Let us know when you're back." Logan dropped by that evening to return a set of drill bits. "You heading somewhere?" he asked, eyeing the map on the table. I nodded. "Nowhere in particular. You taking the truck?" "No," I said, "just the road car. Something quiet." He didn't press, just gave me a look I knew, the kind that said, "Yeah, you've earned this." I packed light, a few clothes, a good thermos, that same worn notebook I'd scribbled in while recovering at his place. I didn't need music. The tires would be enough, the hum, the stretch of asphalt unfolding like something written just for me. I wasn't running, I wasn't chasing anything, I was just going. For once, with no one waiting on the other side. No messages buzzing, no accounts to check, just the hum of the engine and the soft sound of my own breath, steady again. At sunrise, I locked the door, slid the map into the passenger seat, and pulled away from the curb. Not to forget, not to forgive. Just to drive far enough that, when I came back, I'd know I did it on my own terms. No schedule, no stops, just the open road, and finally, no weight in the passenger seat. There's something sobering about waking up in a hospital bed and realizing you weren't just unconscious, you were unprotected. That while you were fighting for breath, someone you loved was emptying your accounts and rewriting your life without you. But the part that stays with me the most about Nathan's story isn't the betrayal. It isn't the money. It's the way he responded, not with rage, but with clarity. He didn't shout, he didn't threaten, he simply stood up and left the door open behind him as he walked away. Because some battles aren't won with volume, they're won with presence, with knowing exactly who you are, even when someone else tries to define you by your worst day. Nathan could have gone to war in the way the world expects, with harsh words, courtrooms full of shouting, social media posts, and accusations that burn, but instead he chose something far more difficult. He chose self-respect. He chose preparation over reaction, and when the time came, he didn't destroy her, he simply didn't let her destroy him. That, right there, is the real victory. And maybe you've been there too. Maybe your version didn't happen in a courtroom or a hospital or a shared bank account. But maybe you've had your life turned upside down by someone who once claimed to love you. Maybe you gave too much for too long, and when they left, they didn't just walk away. They took pieces of you with them. And when that happens, when the damage is quiet and deliberate and slow, it's easy to wonder, was it my fault? Did I ignore the signs? Should I have seen it coming? But the truth is, good people don't prepare for betrayal. They prepare for storms. They prepare for brake pads and mortgages and aging parents. They prepare to show up, not to be abandoned. And that's what made Nathan's story different. He didn't plan to hurt her. He planned to protect himself. And when she crossed the line, he didn't retaliate. He revealed. He let the evidence speak, let her lies unravel by their own weight. And most of all, he never let her turn him into someone he wasn't. Because here's what no one tells you. Healing isn't loud. It doesn't come with confetti or closure letters or cinematic reunions. It comes on Tuesday nights when you cook dinner in silence. It comes in the form of a smaller home, a simpler job, a glass of coffee on a back porch no one else drinks from. It comes when you find an old wedding album and instead of burning it or crying over it, you just close it, put it in a box, and label it archive. That's how you know you're healing, when the past stops trying to follow you home, when you no longer look for answers, just peace. And to anyone out there who's still in the middle of their version of this story, still holding the unanswered questions, still checking the phone, still wondering if they were enough, let me say this, you were enough. You just gave it to someone who didn't know what to do with it. And now you get to take that enoughness and build something better. Not bigger, not louder, more honest, more quiet, more yours. You don't need revenge to win. You don't need justice to breathe again. You just need space, a map, a porch, a breath that no one else controls. And maybe one morning you'll wake up and realize you're not waiting anymore. You're just living. If this story meant something to you, leave a comment. Not for the algorithm, just to mark the spot, like a mile marker on the road that says, I've been through something too, and I made it here. Because maybe someone else is reading through the comments, quietly holding their own version of Nathan's story. And maybe your words, your little marker, help them keep driving. Thanks for staying with us until the end. We'll see you on the next one. And if no one's told you this today, you deserve a life that feels like yours again. You're not behind, you're just almost there.